The score is 1,287 to 1,265. This isn't a college football game, nor is it the amount of money Jay and Marco have earned spinning a big wheel. It's the amount of points that both these contestants have garnered over the span of 19 weeks of pure chaos. This is Fetch with Ruff Ruffman Season 5. In the year of our Lord, 2010. People like to say that times were better back then, but in the landscape of entertainment, years can feel like minutes. Episode 20 of Season 5 is the penultimate episode this season, and perhaps of the entire series as well. For weeks, the Fetchers have been tracking three things. The mysterious organization Purrs, who I can only imagine in a silly goofy mood wrote down their plans for world domination, which were eventually discovered. 2. Ruff's parents, who have been missing from birth. And 3. The copycat game show Go Get It, who are ran by the feline hosts Tom and Trixie, threatening to dethrone Fetch as the top reality game show of all time. All three of these things are understood to be connected, and this is the episode that will decide the future of Fetch, and perhaps the entire world. Let's take a minute to survey the people tasked with solving the mystery in the only place where a cat could hide their secret base, a water park. The point totals are 6th seed Marco with 1,265 and 5th seed Jay with 1,287. I don't think my audience overlaps greatly with college basketball fans, but if for some strange reason it does, imagine Marco as some 16 seed March Madness school you can't find on a map, and Jay is the University of Kentucky. It's one of the lowest points a Fetcher has ever been. See, the way Fetch's playoffs are structured is wildly different from other sports. The 5 and 6 seeds face off in round 1, with the winner advancing to face the 4 seed. The winner of that game gets randomly grouped up with one of the remaining 3 other contestants to face off against the other 2 contestants. The winner of that game then advances to the final Fetch face-off, which then decides that season's champion. So it's basically like saying Marco has to face Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, UConn, and Villanova with no rest days in between. An impossible task. If I were playing this season, I'd be dejected, sitting as a 6 seed. If it were me, I'd probably throw the game, just to get it over with. To Marco's credit, he's showing incredible fight to start in round 1. This is merely a physical challenge, so to win this, he's going to have to slide down a few slides, then jump over a ferocious plastic shark, and clap a clapperboard to advance. This sounds like the easiest thing ever, but I can only imagine under the stress of wanting to win, it'd be the biggest challenge in one's life. Jay is already flying, and he takes the lead. It's so over. Marco should concede. The viewers watching at home who are wishing for someone to put their hopes and dreams in, like the underdog Marco, are likely completely dejected at this point. But what if you wanted to defy all odds? Going all the way, perhaps? Well, if Marco wants to even fantasize about winning the grand prize, okay, this is what it'll take. First, it will require defeating Jay in Elimination Round 1, a player who had an incredible season, and the halftime quiz shows he averaged 44 points per quiz, good for second best out of 6 people. Marco, on the other hand, was dead last in points per quiz, not even being able to break into the 40-point club, sitting at a mediocre 38. Then it will require defeating Mark in the second round, who finished the season hot, being the daily winner of the final 3 out of 5 challenges. If by some miracle Marco survives these first 2 rounds, he still faces a daunting engineering challenge against either a 1 or 2 seed, or perhaps even both. These top seeds have an enormous advantage, having earned byes in the first and second elimination rounds. And to add the cherry on top of this insurmountable sundae, no 6 seed in the entire history of Fetch has ever even won the championship. In fact, no 6 seed has ever even made it past the second round versus the 4 seed. Marco is not just fighting for himself, but for every 6th seed who's ever dreamed of victory. 4 years of frustration and 4 years of defeat. Through challenges and elimination rounds, Fetch effortlessly turns complex STEM concepts into relatable narratives, humanizing education and creating a universe that mirrors our own. With every turn of events, it delivers life lessons cloaked in entertainment. We're not just spectators in this show, we're part of the story, caught up in the unyielding rhythm of curiosity and pure determination. I personally know people who watch the show and can easily tell me their favorite Fetcher. Millions more were taught STEM concepts through Fetch. They saw every episode, heard every tune that was expertly chosen to emphasize the mood, every cheer associated with the euphoria of victory from Studio G, every nauseating defeat, and every stupid challenge. This completely unscripted view into a world outside our own is expertly crafted. For 30 minutes a week, an uncountable number of young people were treated to brilliant television. Fetch is not just a reality game show, It's about the human experience, the friendships forged, and the lessons learned along the way. Every reality show has its ups and downs, moments of joy and sadness, laughter and tears, but no other show is quite like this one. So let's just take a bit to enjoy it. Grab a drink or something, because you're gonna need it. You probably remember learning about the Plymouth colony in your 5th grade American history class. When they place a town right near the water, it attracts a melting pot of people. Boston, Massachusetts was evolving into a thriving cosmopolitan city, becoming a beacon of hope, and there was a man who wanted to make his city even better. John Lowell Jr. was a man with a vision for his city. When Lowell passed away in 1836, he left a hefty bequest in his will, stipulating that it be used to establish free public lectures for the citizens of Boston. In doing so, he ignited a wish for education to be a staple in Bostonian society. Over the next century, Boston would become a hub for education and the arts, home to a plethora of esteemed institutions like the Museum of Fine Arts, the New England Conservatory of Music, and countless public libraries. Unfortunately, progress in the nation often shrouded in darkness comes slowly. At this time, people in the north and south of the United States are fighting over slavery, and race relations in the country are as sour as can be, as the nation was soon to be grappling with the horrors of the Civil War, Reconstruction, and later the Great Depression. The fabric of American society was being tested in countless ways. As the years ticked by and technology advanced, the airwaves were filled with the sounds of radio broadcasts, and by the 1950s, a new form of entertainment had arrived: television. And sprinting directly into all of this, like a dog at a dog park, is WGBH. WGBH? How do you say that? Oh, you're supposed to say it like you're spelling it out. Oh, WGBH. Anyway, the PBS affiliate station dedicated itself to enriching the lives of the people of Boston through education and entertainment. Little did they know that their humble beginnings would one day lead to the creation of a show that would capture the hearts and minds of children across the nation. This new show offered millions of children a respite from the divisive political climate of the 70s. This was the time when the Vietnam War started to escalate, Nixon resigned after the Watergate scandal, and women were fighting fiercely for abortion protections. Despite these tumultuous events, the team at WGBH remained committed to fostering a safe, engaging space for children. Unbeknownst to them, when the camera started rolling and everything started clicking, the team had stumbled into a creative goldmine. The cast brought to life a remarkable array of sketches, experiments, and artistic creations, all while acknowledging the uncertain world their young audience inhabited. Despite PBS's intent to provide a comfortable space for children's programming, there were moments when the lines between the show and reality blurred. One particular Zoom rap, basically a candid conversation between cast members as part of the show, touched upon the topic of race, particularly the reactions to desegregation busing in Boston.
I know, with different colors.
We are all the same in God's way, but, if everyone was black, what would we know? We wouldn't have any experience of any other color.
I mean, I think black, white, Puerto Rican, and so on should be mixed because...
But not by busing.
How all the wars and the hatred and everything's gonna stop.
Yeah, but I don't know how they can get together if they don't live near each other. But I don't like the idea of busing, but I want us to get together.
This conversation, which took place nearly 5 decades ago, offers a glimpse into how young minds processed and reacted to the societal upheavals of their time. This innovative approach led to a genuine connection with their viewers and sparked children's imaginations worldwide. As the show's popularity grew, so did the enthusiasm of its fans, who sent letters in droves, each one a mix of questions, ideas, but all echoing a shared desire to learn and comprehend the world. In the midst of this, the producers at WGBH had a revelation. Ingeniously, they began featuring the most compelling letters on the show. The letters spanned a variety of topics, from earnest and tough questions about gender norms, such as a male fan wondering why he could not participate in synchronized swimming, to pleas for the opportunity to simply appear on the show. You know, I respect that. That person just kind of went for it. Anyway, the team at WGBH diligently reviewed each letter, selecting those that merited featuring. And among them, one individual PBS would impact the network for decades to come. Kate Taylor is awesome. When she came on the scene, she was eager to make a difference in the realm of children's television. With a keen eye for storytelling and a passion for education, she quickly became an influential figure at the station, playing a crucial role in the development of this groundbreaking programming. And in 1972, Zoom debuted. Zoom got cancelled. Okay, so in 1978, Zoom was cancelled due to a lack of funding, according to PBS. The cancellation came as a shock to the fans and the Zoomers because, according to some metrics, the show was more popular than the world-renowned Sesame Street. Zoom's first run only lasted 6 years, but Sesame Street has continued for 53 years and counting. Even before 1978, Zoom had to deal with the threat of cancellation. In 1973, PBS was massively underfunded, and as a result, saw Zoom as a way to save some money. So they decided to threaten to cancel the show. That was a great idea. Over 190,000 letters then proceeded to flood the Corporation for Public Broadcasting's offices, and wouldn't you know it, they found the $700,000 to keep Zoom on air. So if you're ever angry about a show's cancellation, just write 190,000 letters to whatever studio is running the show, and they'll keep it running. Probably. As I've mentioned, Zoom was a cultural powerhouse, so to say that it just faded into obscurity after its cancellation in 1978 is a completely asinine thing to say. And fans of Zoom didn't have to wait long for the show to return. Only 20 years. A reboot finally happened in 1999. This new version of Zoom featured a fresh new cast and updated content, staying true to the original concept while catering to a new generation of viewers. But it too could not escape the threat of cancellation, and in 2005, WGBH officially announces that Zoom is cancelled again. The second rendition of Zoom lasted 7 seasons. Still, despite the show's popularity and positive impact on children's education and creativity, it ultimately fell victim to the same issue that led to its initial cancellation: lack of funding. This decision left fans and cast members heartbroken, as they had formed a strong connection with each other and with the show itself. WGBH said publicly that part of the reason for the show's drop in viewership was also due in part to several PBS stations across the country airing the show at, quote, undesirable times, which, given this explanation, suggests they were airing it when many kids around America were in school. You can't watch Zoom if you're learning about the fundamental theorem of algebra, right? With Zoom now gone, WGBH had to fill the void. There was no way they were just going to give up. The moment for a certain canine that would come to define education and entertainment for millions of young Americans was about to arrive. This moment will come to define PBS forever, and will break the boundaries of American television. I think you know who it is. I think it's time we introduce this big fella. He changed everything when his contract with PBS was signed. Ruff Ruffman. an animated dog with a persona that somehow combines the charisma of Alex Trebek, the anxiety of a puppy during a thunderstorm, and the vocal tendencies of an enthusiastic PTA dad, is the host. This dog's voice actor, probably unbeknownst to him, just signed up to change the trajectory of his entire career. Enter Jim Conroy. Over the course of the show, Conroy as Ruff will send out a rotating group of 6 different fetchers across 5 seasons on almost 100 science, engineering, and technology-based challenges. For those who don't go on the challenges, they'll stay behind and participate in the halftime quiz show, where Ruff will ask questions based on the episode. For their efforts, all 6 are awarded points during the Triumph Tally. At the end, Ruff will be awarding bonus points and then declare a daily winner, who would receive a prize, which could be something desirable like a BLT or an ice cream party for everyone, 2 dirty socks. I wish I were joking. But before we start cataloging 100 challenges, let's survey the boundaries of what this graph is. On the vertical axis is the name of the contestant, obviously. This season, it's Anna, Brian, Julia, Khalil, Noah, and Taylor. On the horizontal axis, we see the episode, so 1 through 20. These little gray boxes will hold the scores of each contestant. Over the course of the next few minutes, we'll fill this chart up with the cumulative points that a contestant has earned. So let's say in episode 1, Anna got 80 points, so that would be here. If Brian got 10 points, he'd be here. And even if we're talking like Julia getting 1,000 points on day 1, it'd be beyond unfair, but we can still show that. Now, you won't be able to see the exact points earned on this chart for every single episode, mainly because I want it to be a surprise as to what placement on the standings each contestant gets going into the finale. And unfortunately, we lack the technology to make 600 polygons appear, rendering this completely impossible. Occasionally, I will put up episode notes, and there you'll see all contestants' current points up to that point. And at the end of the season, a seed will be assigned to them based on how many points they got. This isn't golf, so the more points you've acquired, the better off you are. Here's where you'll see the standings going into the finale. One more thing. I was curious to see how many challenges each contestant would get, so I calculated the frequency so we can explain why some people's points increase a lot and some increase not so much. Our sample will be Liza from season 4 because she was my favorite fetcher growing up. As you can see, per contestant you can expect to have 5 halftime quiz shows, 1 solo challenge, 1 trios challenge, around 7 duos challenges, and 4 6-man challenges. 2 constants of every season were that every contestant went on at least 1 solo challenge, and there were 4 6-man challenges. During halftime quiz shows, the maximum you can only get is 50 points, so mathematically you're probably going to score at least half of what your challenge-taking peers are getting, because their maximum points is 100. We're going to talk a lot more about the intricacies and the math of this show, but for now, let's just start with something simple, the theme song. There is no equal. Fetch's opening is one of the greatest pieces of music ever composed, and people agree with me here. Go to TikTok, YouTube, or Twitter and type in Fetch with Ruff Ruffman, and you will find hundreds of comments talking about just the theme song. If you want to take a break from this to go listen to the full thing, really, I don't understand. The first episode of any show is key, especially in the landscape of PBS. Fetch has this uniqueness where you could have turned it on and started watching immediately, not being weighed down by requiring to follow the story for 20 episodes. Even now I find myself bouncing from season to season to relive classic moments. Now what you all are here for. 6 unsuspecting youngins were plucked from the bosom of mid-aughts PBS casting and catapulted into the bizarre world of Ruff's reality TV game show and into the greatest echelons of American television. The premiere of Season 1, aptly titled 321 Blastoff, is a bizarre and brilliant ethos of the series. A city-spanning space race where Boston becomes a microcosm of the solar system. Let's talk scale. In this grand space race, 1 foot equals 75,000 miles. The contestants who for some reason agreed to sign up to this race between planets, or rather planet checkpoints, as they try to navigate a city-sized solar system using only their wits, and some vague clues from a dog, and a stopwatch to keep track of the time. There's a time limit here. So Julia, Khalil, and Anna, each having a pretty good score so far, all tied for first place with 0 points, can add 10 points to their score by reaching the planets within the time limit. The first 4 planets went smoothly, as each were pretty close to one another. Then comes Jupiter, and already 15 minutes into this show, the budget consciousness has already begun to show its consequences. First, the stopwatch stops working. Wonderful. Thankfully, Anna has one on her wrist, and they simply subtract the time they started from the current time to get the time remaining, 10 minutes. Then they ask two dudes in a car for directions to South Station, who tells them they are going the wrong way. But the GPS says they aren't. Rightly, Julia complains about the technical mishaps to Ruff.
Uh-oh. So this must be wrong, because if they say South Station's going that way, this thing says that we should go that way, and that doesn't really work out.
Oh.
Ruff, I haven't been too happy with your electronics here.
That has just sealed the entire team's fate. With the final seconds ticking away, they make it to South Station's checkpoint, or in this case, Jupiter, with a time of...
Oh, time is running out. I don't know if they're gonna make it.
Do you know where there's a scale model of Jupiter?
That's straight over there by the bakery, sir.
Oh, it's gonna be close. Oh, somebody's not gonna be happy when they see the time.
Stop. Can we make it? 10:03. No! 10:03!
3 seconds. And what did they do to waste these 3 seconds? What do you think?
Ruff, I haven't been too happy with your electronics here.
I wonder.
How dare those wretched electronics misguide them? And just like that, in the time it took to voice her discontent, they lose by 3 godforsaken seconds. We're still not done because pilot episodes are filled with absurdity. On their way to Neptune, we get to one of the absolute crown jewels of television history, the trio stuck in a Boston traffic jam. Magnificent stuff. They had 30 minutes to get there, but once again time expired. You think, hey, Ruff's a cartoon dog, he'll probably cut them some slack, right? Wrong. Ruff Ruffman gives no quarter.
Ruff, will you cut us a little slack with our little time check here?
Oh, well, traffic is unexpected, but obstacles are part of the game, so... Nope. Can't cut them slack. Can't cut corners here.
The Boston traffic jam, an insurmountable foe, had claimed another set of victims. If only everyone had stepped on the gas as soon as the light turned green. And then, as if the producers sat in the room and asked, what's harder than making kids race across Boston with a nonsensical scale model? The final part of the challenge asked the contestants to build a scale model of the solar system where 1 foot equals 24 million miles. Some positives did come out for this episode, as the trio managed to hit 7 out of 9 planets on time for a total of 70 points. For building the solar system model, another 10 points, so 80 points for them total. And for the halftime quiz trio, they did pretty good on their first attempt, scoring 8 out of 10 for 40 points. Let's go back to that chart we talked about earlier. The higher up these squares are, the more points the contestant earn. Again, we won't know the totals as they happen, but periodic point updates will be provided. Oh, and just a fun fact, if you wanted to visit these planet checkpoints for yourself, a majority of them got removed. So your only alternative is to visit them for real, I guess. Just go join the space program or something, bro. 1 episode down, 99 to go. Throughout my research, the point totals have been what I've been focusing on. I skimmed through the rest of Season 1 and found something incredible. Here is every instance of a fetcher ever earning points across fetch, with the maximum possible being that red line, which is 100 points. Notice anything weird? 3 contestants managed to get 125 points in a single episode. Even more unbelievable that 5 of them managed to score over 100. Ruff said that the maximum someone could earn in a single episode was 100, right? Believe it or not, it gets even funnier, as in the next 4 years to come, there was never ever another challenge that gave more than one fetcher more than 100 points. But perhaps most poetic is that it was on an episode that I genuinely had zero interest in watching. The fetchers were tasked with experiencing what colonial living was like, because, you know, they're from Boston. I have never been so uninterested in an episode of Fetch ever. But to give the fetchers credit, as the episode summary states, they had to put away their video games and phones. If I was cast for Season 1, I would have been so out of it for this challenge. Why this history lesson was given when this is a STEM show is anybody's guess. So far we've seen a few challenges, and I know what you're thinking. Why does this show look like it's been filmed with unregistered Hypercam 2? Well, that, my friends, is just kind of what happens when your network operates with a cool budget of less than $500 million. In case you're wondering, here's PBS's value, around $425 million. Hey, that's not so bad, right? I wonder what our competitors' budgets are looking like. Oh, wow, that is a lot of money. Well, you know what some people like to say around here. Who cares? Now, we've gone over 2 episodes already, but I think it's time we examine the most terrifying challenge for a contestant in the show's history. To one contestant, this day will feel like an eternity. Season 1 Episode 7 had the most polar opposite levels of enjoyment for the 2 challenges. Anna and Julia spent a day on the water learning how to windsurf. Brian and Khalil's challenge? Beekeeping. Brian recalls a story that he mentions in the introductions that he once got stung by a bee in his ear.
Oh, when I was 3 years old, I went to the farm with my cousin. The bee went in my ear and stung me inside my ear.
Inside your ear?
Wait, next day, I ate bees too. Picking at my ear, found a stinger in my ear.
Ow!
Of course, the experience has stuck with him for a while now, and Ruff was like, you know what? Why not send this kid on a challenge with bees, something he's very clearly afraid of? Why not make him even more terrified of bees than he already is? The challenge here was to get honey for Ruff, but the true challenge should have been trying not to die. And honestly, Brian handled this way better than I ever could. He got about 10 seconds in, and then he was like,
I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it.
I can do it.
I can't do it. I can't do it. I gotta go.
honestly, Ruff should have given him about 3,000 points for just getting within 10 feet of this bee drawer. Yet, Ruff shows no mercy. He gave Khalil 40 points for doing the beekeeping, but docked Brian 15 because of his fear and lack of interaction with the bees. I guess. This decision, one that was made out of fear, will cost Brian in the end. I promise, there is an explanation for that. Okay, we're back. And we're immediately going back to a hard challenge. One that's not as terrifying, so I think some smooth jazz will suffice. Oh hey, look who's participating. Brian, Noah, and Khalil. The task? A mural. Not a mural painted in the cool, relaxed confines of an air-conditioned studio. No. This is a mural painted under the blistering Boston sun. This isn't 10-year-olds in a meat plant child labor, but it does have the curious undertone of grown-ups shoving off the less than pleasant tasks onto unsuspecting kids. Could it be a cunningly veiled lesson about the harsh realities of life? Or maybe, just maybe, hear me out, it was a sneaky way of getting a free paint job. It's very easy for me to imagine someone at PBS seeing an advertisement needing volunteers to paint the mural and thought, oh hey, that's an easy challenge. Did the kids learn something? I don't know. What was the audience supposed to learn? How to paint? Cool, I can do that in art class. I might be biased against this challenge only because Taylor's challenge this episode was one of my all-time favorites. In a more culturally relevant and useful challenge, the Fetchers learned how to cook, which obviously is a very important life skill. This episode was kind of like a 2005 version of MasterChef, except Gordon Ramsay is replaced by Brian's younger sister Laurel. Now, she doesn't tell them the shrimp is raw with 30 expletives sprinkled in. She's just one of those folks that likes chicken and only chicken. So when Julia and Khalil presented gnocchi with ham, it didn't go well. Obviously, Taylor and Brian win this. But interestingly, I think that the episode leaders, first place Anna and third place Noah, who were judges in this challenge, may have voted for their favorite dishes in a way that would have given them the best possible chances of maintaining their lead. Khalil and Julia were in second and fifth place respectively, while Brian and Taylor were in fourth and sixth respectively. The former team got 1 vote, while the latter got 2. This is like Jackbox, where you vote for the guy in last place, not as a pity party, but rather to make sure the guy in second place can't pass you. It's kinda genius, really. Or maybe Khalil and Julia's food was just bad. Anyway. Episode 19 brought one of the most hard-hitting episodes, and not quite in the way you'd think. Forgive me for going off on a personal tangent here, but I really relate to the themes in this episode on a deeper level than I probably should. Here's Julia facing an obstacle that would give seasoned astronauts pause, a simulator that spins you around like an out-of-control fidget spinner. Its purpose? To simulate what an uncontrollable spin upon re-entry might feel like. I have to imagine it was designed by NASA's most sadistic engineers on a Monday morning in some lab room near Houston. It's not just disorienting, it's a blatant middle finger to our natural human instinct for self-preservation. Yet apparently you don't get nauseous. That can't be right. Obviously, Julia was probably thinking that's just some marketing ploy meant to make the space camp experience more enjoyable. You see that look? That's the face of someone staring down a whirling vortex of terror. And who comes to the rescue? Not Ruff, but Anna. Anna, with words of encouragement, somehow manages to convince Julia to strap herself into this carnival ride from hell. This dread of the unknown, the uncontrollable, resonates with us, doesn't it? I mean, why wouldn't it? The clip resonated with me immediately when I saw it for the first time. See, as a child, at a tender age of 6, I was faced with similar contraptions. Not at space camp, but in the happiest place on Earth, and an early 2010 SeaWorld. Splash Mountain at Magic Kingdom, and Journey to Atlantis at SeaWorld. If you've never been to either or, don't let the whimsical names fool you. These are not joyful rides. They're towering monuments of terror, designed by sadists with no sense of humanity. I was coerced into experiencing these rides. Despite my vehement pleas and protests, I was forced into going on these rides by my dad. The feeling of my stomach in my throat, the high-pitched scream that I'm still not entirely sure was mine, and the laughter from my dad who thought it was funny. This was no joyous memory of a one-day trip to Disney World. This is a personal horror story. And the same damn thing happened at SeaWorld. I have no clue why they bothered to install these water cannons that let you shoot at the riders, but for some reason, I vividly remember this woman paying like the 50 cents or whatever to shoot a 20 psi water hose at me as I am literally bawling like a baby. So why am I dredging up these old traumas now? Well, I wanted to show this clip to my dad where Ruff says,
You know, sometimes what's fun to some people can be scary to others.
As like a piece of evidence, a quote that directly argues the unspoken terror that haunted the wide-eyed 6-year-old me. As a plea for understanding, if you will. Going back to Julia, her fear was genuine, real, and palpable. Yet she overcame it. She strapped herself in, steeled her nerves, and went on that hell of a ride, and came out stronger on the other side. Julia conquered her fears. And me? Well, let's just say my relationship with roller coasters remains unchanged. As stupid as this sounds, I have never been on a thrill ride that intense since. It has been well over a decade. You invite me to Disney World or whatever theme park, you will find me on the People Mover, Spaceship Earth, Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger Spin. The absolute antithesis of how you're supposed to enjoy a theme park to some. As Julie and the other fetchers have shown us, it's not just about facing fears. It's also about embracing the journey, the challenges, the highs and the lows, and everything in between. Because, well, that's life, isn't it? Anyway, sorry for the weird trauma dumping. The last few challenges of Season 1 are completed, and we're at the point where the season is winding down. A journey that commenced with 6 clueless kids and a dog with a dream took us through a gauntlet of increasingly ludicrous challenges. There were missteps, blunders, anxiety, moments of genuine brilliance, and most importantly, there was fun. Lots and lots of fun. An ending that promises to be every bit as absurd, as dramatic, and as mind-boggling as the journey that led us here. Let's see where this journey actually did lead us this season. It led us to a couple places, beginning with Boston. Here in the Cradle of Liberty, the Fetch cast confronted not the adversaries of musket and powder, but challenges of wit, creativity, and the occasional challenge that they probably didn't care for. From Boston, they journeyed to Canopy Lake Park in New Hampshire, examining heart rates on various rides, and then on episode 19, we got sent to Huntsville, Alabama to Space Camp to repair the Fetch satellite. Now, as we head into the grand finale, episode 20, the climax that has been brewing for the entire season, it's time to decide the champion. Cue the dramatic music. Here's what the bracket will look like. Go ahead and just remember for me that the winner of the 6th and 5th place match plays the 4th seed, and then the winner of that advances to the group stage, and then the winning group advances to the final face-off. Got it? Remember when I said that Brian's decision to not interact with the bees would cost him in the end? Well, here's how. Let's pull the curtain to show their scores going into the finale. Brian, 1405, Julia, 1406, Noah, 1420. If Brian did that bee challenge like Khalil did, he would have forced a tie with Noah, but he didn't. The Fetch gods have now punished him for this fear-induced transgression, banishing him to 5th place. How far can he go? How far can any of them go? Well, without further ado, why don't we just go ahead and see? Fetch's playoffs are awkward, as we've said before, and the dishonors of having to play in every round go to... oh boy, Brian. Yes, our friend Brian. The contestant who would probably sell his own grandmother for 100 points. Hell, probably 50. He's always been a bit more point-focused than the others, sometimes straddling the line between strategic and, let's face it, downright opportunistic. Now he has to navigate this... I mean, come on, a squeaky toy relay race. Fetch has always had a quirky charm, but this just turned the absurdity up to 11. A frenzy of splashing water and frantic squeaking would make you think that they're auditioning for the next installment of Jaws. Their teeth clamp down on the squeaky toys like they're competing for the last piece of a Thanksgiving turkey leg. I mean, this isn't a game. This is dignity. This is survival. I mean, it's just also ridiculously entertaining too. 54 seconds later, time's up, and the count is revealed. Taylor 12, Brian 19. First hurdle completed. Brian lives to fight another day. Round 2, and Julia awaits. Ruff pulled an oopsie and accidentally released the balloons that were supposed to drop at the show's end. So here we go. The rules are simple enough. Just pop as many balloons as possible using your posterior in a tight 2-minute window. Julia, the ever-careful one, decides to protect her eardrums from the balloon-popping cacophony. With fingers stuffed in her ears, she bravely battles, yet her progress is understandably hindered. Each pop, a brief pause. Each pause, a slight delay in her race against the clock. Meanwhile, Brian, the man of the hour, refuses to let anything slow him down. The popping of balloons echoes like gunshots on a battlefield. Brian does not merely compete in this round, he fights for survival, one balloon at a time. Somehow, amidst the popping chaos, Brian's knees and lower back become inadvertent weapons of balloon destruction. That's -4 balloons right there. Brian pops 11 balloons using the correct posterior method. And Julia popped a total of
10 balloons! It was a close race!
Brian is heading to the 3rd round. And up until now, he's been a one-man team. Unfortunately though, you can't rely on yourself to win the game entirely. Each 3rd round henceforth will require some degree of engineering skill. Building something better than your opponent is the key to advancing. You better have a degree from MIT if you want to progress. And now they're being asked to engineer a rat-proof, kibble-storing tower at least 4 feet high. Brian is paired up with Noah, who is in 2nd place and is overall just a bit more relaxed about this whole thing. They're up against the power duo of Anna and Khalil, the 1st and 3rd place contestants respectively. The latter duo has this thing sorted out immediately. They use the flower pot and sticks to craft something that, if you squint hard enough, maybe if you're a bit nearsighted, kinda looks like a reverse Eiffel Tower. Meanwhile, Brian and Noah, well, you know that feeling when you open a flat pack furniture box and there are no instructions and you have no idea what you're doing? That's them. But bless their hearts, they're trying. It takes them 2/3 of the build time to develop an idea. A scuffed table with 3 legs. And now they have to put it up against Anna and Khalil's Eiffel Tower. How do they decide who wins? By putting kibble on top of the tower. And who wins this challenge? Who do you think? I mean, the New York Times probably would have called this election for Anna and Khalil, but you know what we like to say around here. Who cares? Personally, I think this challenge has motivated Brian and Noah to make really the perfect tower. It looks kind of sturdy, don't you think? Okay, so we get one ball on, and the second one... Oh, no. Dang it. Well, that's it for Brian and Noah. Such a shame. Coming off an impressive victory through the sturdiness of a kibble tower, there are but 2 contestants remaining, but only one can become the Fetch Grand Champion. We're on to the trivia round, where each question is worth 100 points, so let's not waste any time. First, a question about pulse rates. Anna knew that a pulse count of 21 in 15 seconds is a heart rate of 84 beats per minute. Fancy that. Next question. Khalil knows his Ruff Ruffman lore, completing the phrase, "Is that all the blank?" with, wait for it, points a dog can give. Anna moves ahead again by identifying a yoga position. Then comes a question about dog years that made me question everything I know about time and space. Anna correctly states that Resolved White, a 13-year-old in 1627, would be 2,737 years old in 2005, but in dog years. Khalil tried to pry some info about the conversion of dog years to human years, but Ruff shut that down. Unfortunate. Khalil brings the heat, correctly unscrambling qualep to plaque, the stuff that probably builds up on your teeth as you watch the show. They trade points back and forth like a long tennis rally with questions about waltz music, some random woman named Mistress Winslow, a moon bear, which is a thing apparently, and a sound that, I assure you, only sounds like the tortured screams of the damned, but is actually the fetchers on a roller coaster. By the end of the trivia round, Khalil manages to pull ahead with a score of 2015 to Anna's 1921. And now, we've arrived at the grand crescendo of our saga. Our final round is a smell test. And if it was ever a time to follow your nose, this was it. Should Khalil get all 3 right, he wins. But if he doesn't, and Anna does, she wins. If no one can get all 3, Khalil wins. He literally has his ticket to win the championship punched for him. The first smell. Khalil, nostrils flaring, guesses correctly. Anna, undeterred, follows suit. Smell number 2. Carrot cake. Khalil's nose led him astray. He guessed a cookie. Which, I mean, fair. Anna again seizes the moment. She's correct. We're down to the final smell. The scent of victory was in the air. Or was that just the final smell from under the pot? Khalil, perhaps still trapped in the forest of his own senses, guesses wood. Anna? She nails it. Fish. And just like that, the 94-point lead that Khalil had is completely evaporated. And as such, somehow the underdog, Anna, noses out the victory.
And Anna is our Fetch Grand Champion! Release the balloons! Oh, wait, yeah.
Oh yeah, I already did that.
And the prize? Ah, yes, I nearly forgot. It's whitewater rafting. Not a bad deal. Oh, and did we mention the best part? Ruff did say that everybody wins on this show, and that promise was kept.
Oh, and one last thing. Anna's not going whitewater rafting by herself. No, no, no. You're all going whitewater rafting! That's right!
It's impossible to ignore the trials, the triumphs, and the sheer amount of dog determination displayed by our contestants. We've witnessed brilliant feats of problem solving. We've watched friendships form, fear sometimes conquered, sometimes not, and underdogs rise to become top dogs. The show resonated with audiences around the world. Kids and adults alike were captivated. The scent of adventure and the thrill of competition had them, quite literally, howling for more.